From Nutrien Ag Solutions, I'm Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, February 12th, 2024. We'll start off looking at the satellite picture here. Early Monday morning, we do have some snow showers making their way through central and southern portions of Alberta, accompanying a little disturbance that's tracking through the region. We'll see these flurries move into southern portions of Saskatchewan, maybe some flurries in southern Manitoba as we get to Tuesday and Wednesday as well. Overall, light precipitation, though. As we look at those temperatures, pretty cold across much of the prairie, a little bit of warmer air trying to nudge into far southern Alberta, far southwestern Saskatchewan. And as we look at the last 7 days of precipitation, we did see some snow accumulate here mid to late last week, primarily across Saskatchewan and Manitoba, with a dry week across much of Alberta. Now, as we look at the next 7 days, precipitation kind of smoothed out with the European ensemble model. We continue to favor portions of coastal, Pacific Northwest, western United States, and then the southeastern corridor of the U.S. remains quite active as well. We do have, again, a couple of systems that try to sneak over the top of the ridge here and bring some light precipitation to the region, but by and large, this is a drier pattern for us here from the prairie down into the upper Midwest of the United States. Looking at snowfall over the next 7 days, again, the next 3 to 4 days really, we see the chance for some light snow accumulating here, maybe an inch or two. Most areas just seeing a light coating from this very light flurry activity that makes its way through over the next 2 to 3 days with a predominantly dry week across the region. Again, the heavier snow falling across mountainous areas of the Pacific Northwest, the Intermountain West, and then a couple of corridors here of some lighter snow across the U.S. as well. Now, here's a look at the background state, the background pattern. This is the little trough making its way through, bringing the flurries that sneaks over the top of the ridge across the British Columbia border with the Pacific Ocean. Here's the system across the southeast U.S., bringing some snow to portions of the mid-Atlantic. And then we're kind of losing the bigger trough that we eventually had seen for much of last week that brought all of the heavy moisture to the western United States. Now, as I animate this, you'll see the pattern continues to move on. We have some variety here, and I'll tell you what all of this means over the next 2 weeks or so as we just kind of bring it back to present day. Again, here's the little system that brings the flurries over the next 2 to 3 days. This one gets out of here as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. As we do that, heading into the weekend, high pressure really kind of takes over again across western Canada. We still have flow coming out of the northwest, so this is still a cooler pattern, but not a lot in the way of really bitterly cold air in our source region. So yes, the jet stream is doing this, tapping into northern Canada, Alaska. This could potentially bring in that colder air then to the prairie. But again, where is the cold air to deliver to the prairie? We change up the trajectory so it's maybe not, balmy out there for the last half of February, but not a real big, balance in our checking account as we talk about brutally cold air in the last half of winter here. Now, as we transition into next week, we do start to see an increase in troughing across western Canada late next week. So this is a long road to get there where we're talking about pretty light doses of precipitation across the region. So we'll look at the next 10 days, 10 to 14 days, I should say, from the European ensemble model. So kind of less detail here with this approach, and we can kind of time out the waves of precipitation as they make their way through. So here's that first shot of flurries. This is your Monday into Tuesday, and now getting into Wednesday. Precipitation really starts to taper off then as we get into the end of the week. High pressure takes control across western Canada once again, so our weekend looking pretty quiet. We get another run of some very light precipitation chances here early next week, and then it's really later into the next week and maybe beyond into week 3 that I think that we'll potentially see an uptick in moisture chances here across the region. So your next 7 days, the probability of picking up half an inch of moisture or more going to be focused here across the Pacific Northwest, portions of western, California. And then we've also got this corridor across the southeastern United States, once again highlighting really just a lot of upper level convergence here, chances for flurries with these little clipper-like systems, but stacking up a half an inch of moisture from that, not going to be likely. Now here's where we can see verbatim the precipitation here over the next 7 to 10 days. Here's your flurries that move through the area Monday. This is Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday, and now flurries start to taper off Wednesday night into Thursday. This is when high pressure once again kind of takes hold across the prairie. That will shut down even the flurry chances for us late week into the weekend. This is now Friday, getting into Saturday, and now beyond Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, early next week. Those chances for some flurries start to return. I'm kind of rocking back and forth February 19th, 20th, and 21st. Those chances for flurries, and then I think it's even beyond that maybe we start to open up the window for another bigger storm or two to sneak through if we really develop some significant troughing across Western Canada. Now, here's where we talk about those temperatures. Again, I mentioned the flow at times coming over the ridge and then diving down into the prairie. This would, and is a colder pattern just objectively, but is it a bitterly cold, brutally cold pattern? Well, we got to look up to our source region here. And is there a big, bank of brutally cold air and a lot of snow on the ground? There just simply is not. So even as the flow of the jet stream taps into Alaska, taps into regions across the north, we really pick up just some slightly colder air. And then we do a lot of work to modify that and warm it as it comes down slope over the top of the Rockies, spilling into the prairie. So it's half of a colder pattern. It's missing the other piece of it. So your 10-day takeaways, just to kind of sum up everything I've just thrown at you. Light doses of snow this week, certainly possible. Someone could find their way to picking up, 3 or 4 inches of snow here over the next several days, much of which coming of the first half of this week with a drier, quieter weekend, but predominantly looking at very light snow, maybe none to a light coating to maybe an inch or 2 in most corners of the prairie. Those temperatures mild overall. You will find some shots of cold air as systems ride over the top of the ridge and try to sweep through the prairie. Well, they do so successfully, but they just don't bring any really significantly colder air. So temperatures mild overall over the next 10 days, though you will find some colder days mixed in. And then looking for that uptick in moisture chances and more impactful storms. It's going to be wait until the last week of February for that, if not into the first couple of days of March. So your next 10 to 14 days, there are chances for snow. They're going to be light in nature. Looking at the last part of the month, though, for any sort of change. Again, if we're able to develop a significant trough across Western Canada, that would open the door for more significant storms to make their way in. That is well off in the future, and we will certainly talk again before that happens next Monday, February 21st. I forgot. Let's look at your temperatures here. That's an awkward ending, right? The next 10 days here in Calgary, again, you see the variety there. Mild, bit colder, mild, and then a little bit colder. We get the same thing here in Edmonton. Mild today, bit colder mid to late week, mild again for the weekend. Saskatoon, Regina, and Winnipeg. Now we will close out this video. Hope you have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you again next Monday.